There. Okay, good. That's it. Order of operations, the process. There we are. We're in good shape. What's going on, guys? Is there left? And we are back to some back on the Abramelin. That's what we're doing. We're getting through this book I started. There we go. All right, we're good. How you guys doing? Everything's been all right. So we are gonna have at it with some more of this stuff, right? And I think it's great to be able to cite this book, right? Because it's it's a question of what Jews, when they start talking about witchcraft and stuff, like, because there's Jews out there that they are told not to get into witchcraft. And so I think for Jews that's good advice, just because if you're going to get ensorcelled by the Kabbalah and come to believe that it is an inheritance from your pagan myth, it's just like there may be something pagan buried down in there. But the mechanical structure of it lends itself towards the trapezoid, and it lends itself towards the hypercube, and of course all the Saturnian matrix systems and things of this nature, right? The historical merit and the tracking of the law that is inherent with the book. Right? Because all those trackings of the law are trackings on judgments of how humans govern themselves, right? And so, you end up having certain opinions about governance based on that, right? And, of course, after, you read the Talmud and all these things, you just come to realize, okay, so hold on a second. These monotheists just want us to live in perpetual revolution against ourselves and civil war against ourselves because they don't want to be honest with us that they're arguing amongst themselves about things as fundamental as do you do magic or not. And this guy is allegedly the most moral magician in the history books. So this dude is part of the reason why we are here today. And the other part of the reason is also my love of trying to not do anything with black magic, right? To be of white magic, and more seriously, and hopefully never necessarily, battle magic, right? I think that's all pretty clear cut. I mean, I suppose there's nothing theoretically wrong with some form of success magic, if you will. Hold on a second here. Why is it... And we're going to get started on the book in just a second. I'm just trying to... My computer does strange things to compensate for all the stuff that I can't update about it. So I'm just making sure things look right. Okay, there we go. We're okay. Pop out the chat room so I can actually see people, and then I can close this down to there. That's fine. Okay, cool. Alright, so I go to window capture. Now I just gotta add the book. Alright. Kaboom. Ah, nice. Nice. Right in the right place. Alright, we're in good shape. Alright. So, Chapter 11. How to choose a location to call all the spirits. How to prepare the accessories. Aha! So we're spirit calling now. Oh, and we're calling all All the spirits in regards to what? Because they're evil spirits. Anyway, make the arrangements before Passover so that you can start as soon as it is over. Oh, and by the way, just because I don't want nobody to think nothing of it, the clasp on my necklace for my Urnmjolnir, I guess that's the best way to call this thing, is finally given out, so it's just kind of hanging on. So if it falls off my neck, it is not a sign of Loki's mischief. It's just, it's time, and I'm not going to wear it on the job site anymore until I replace the clasp, or I replace the chain entirely, or whatever. I don't know what I want to do yet. Anyway. Make the arrangements before Passover so that you can start as soon as it is over. In the wilderness, it is easy to find a location. Here, in the middle of a level place, erect an altar. Cover it with a roof of branches and leaves to protect the area from rain. Around the altar, there should be an area 7 feet wide, planted with beautiful and fragrant flowers. The location should be divided into 2. First, the altar with its temple and living room, and second, the entrance area. Okay, that's very interesting. All right, so you're drawing a magical circle, and you're making and then you're putting an altar in the circle, right? Like I do a circle. I have an altar. I keep it in the northeast, which is the primary direction point for the kingdom of heaven, if you will, across all mythos. And I would say it's 7 feet because we're kind of talking about 6 feet, right? We're kind of talking about that field, social distancing was the whole 6 feet thing. This is like when your expanded auric field goes out about 6 feet. Your condensed one goes in about 3, right? And then there's some of you're just collapsed, and so your auric field is just outside your skin. It just depends on how much you're afraid of your own sense of self out of you, right? I can project out my sense of self, to certain levels. Depending on things. Anyway, and then so you get 6 feet, then 1 foot for these flowers. That would be on just the outside of the inner core of your magic circle. Okay? In a town or in houses, make a note of the following. The prayer room should have at least 2 windows, one facing the rising sun, the other facing the setting sun. Next to a door or an opening through which the demons can be seen, demons who cannot or should not appear in the prayer room. Okay, so, all right, so there is some, so he's going to do, I guess he's probably going to be Solomonic. He's going to be all like, yeah, I'm going to draw my ring, and I'm going to have power over you, and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, through the door and windows, I had a clear view of the arbor and could control the demons. The prayer room should be square without additional corners, swept clean, and have a clean wooden floor. Hey, what's up, Howard? Clearly, the room should look like a room for praise and prayer, not like a dog's house or a pigsty. The place for the spirits should be open or have many windows. Cover the floor with an even layer of clean sand, 2 or 3 fingers deep. The altar should stand in the middle of the space, and the sides should face the 4 corners of the world. The altar's height and size can be whatever you want. It is best if it is proportionate to your person. It should be built of uncut stones. If made of wood, it should be made of elder or pine. Over it should be a lamp made of gold, silver, or glass, filled with olive oil. This should be lit during the incense and extinguished afterwards. On the altar, place an attractive metal incense burner made from bronze or silver. If you can afford it, it should remain in place until the work is completed. If the altar is in the house, completed if the altar is in the house. If the altar is outside, these things cannot happen because you will have to move about as occasions require. Everything can be placed inside the wooden altar as in a cupboard. 2 robes. 1, a long snow white shirt or coat made from pure wool or linen that has not been washed. The second from white, yellow, or rose-colored silk, should not go past the knee and should have short sleeves. There is no rule about these clothes, the simpler the better. Fasten the robe firmly about you with neat tie in the same color, with a neat tie in the same color as the robe. Okay, interesting. So don't like accent the outfit by like doing like black on white or something like that, right? So you're kind of keeping yourself in a complete kind of ordinary monotone, right? It's like it's the opposite of like what the Catholic Church does and like anybody else doing their high regalia ceremonies. But you know what? High regalia ceremonies are a different matter. They serve different purposes, right? But you know what? Getting this idea from as raw a place as possible, right? Because, this is the one thing I think is a little bit beneficial about the exercise in anti-cosmic thinking, right? Which the Abrahamics are locked into. Right, to have this existence that you pretend you like more than the Gnostics are letting on to. But then it's all about Gnosticism at that point because you don't want to offend the greater hierarchy, even though you're already taking the biggest risk in the universe jumping from the original hierarchy, especially because of how it hurts your mom and dad so much. Okay, on your head, you should have a hairband of golden colored silk. Fasten onto it the highest name of Adonai cut from thin metal, similar to the headband of Aaron. At minimum, the letters can be written onto the band with golden letters. Interesting. I feel like this is almost like a substitute for what the normal rabbinical clerics do, where they've got the headband and then, of course, the cube. And then in the cube is, I think it's like the little Torah or whatever. This is just having a headband with a marking of the highest name of God, right? And so going with going with that, right? If you're operating purely with the higher force, right? There's different ways you can make in reference to that. You could call upon your own avatar, which is your expression of your higher self at its spiritual mastery point, whether you're physically there yet or not, because that's why it's the higher self. It always comes to you in the form of the ideal you. And whether you can kind of accept that as your potential. Some people don't want to look at that because they know what it means, or they want to look at it in a childish way for because it's delusions of grandeur. It's it's akin to not doing the shadow work, taking the ring, and then going all nutsoid as the ring is designed to do. right? Either way, in my head, this looks less ridiculous than the cube. Anyway, a preparation of the oil and incense. Take 1 part of the best myrrh, half a part of cinnamon, and part of cassia, 1 part galangarut, and quarter of the combined total weight of good fresh olive oil. Make these into an ointment or oil as is done by the chemists. Keep it in a clean container until you need it. Put the container together with the other accessories in the cupboard under the altar. Let's see. What does it say? Dos bilig dal iftu ali beretan niman horen bes beften un ibel dimit half ibel yada yada yada. Yeah, so Belten or behält in einem reinen. This was in German originally, I think, right? I think this is German, but anyway. Take equal amounts of balm, gummy galbanum, and pure storax. If you cannot get balm, use cedar or aloe or other pleasantly smelling woods. It's all about cedar wood nowadays, isn't it? Anyway, mix the ingredients together as a powder. Keep it in a clean container. A lot will be needed, so make it every week before the Sabbath. Take it to the prayer room in the evening and put it together with the other accessories under the altar. You also need a smooth, clean twig from an almond tree. Good old almonds. About a finger thick, reaching from your fingertip to your elbow. Keep it with the other accessories. Before the start of the feast and the work, clear the clean accessories into the prayer room. All right. Chapter 12. How the person of Magus should consecrate himself, the prayer room, and its accessories. All right, let's see how this compares to my daily consecrations. The work is divided into sections, times, and pieces. In the same way, there needs to be differences in the consecration we give to the different parts. In the first 2 half years, you need only do what is described in the 7th and 8th chapters. To this, in the first half year on every Sabbath, you need to offer incense morning and evening. In the 3rd half year, the final period, do not get frightened. Be diligent and hardworking. If you have followed my teachings, made sincere and ardent prayers to God, then there is no doubt that everything will be easy. Your own intellect and heart will tell you and show you how you should act and behave. Although invisible, your guardian angel is around you and leads your heart so that it cannot fail or make mistakes. After the feast of Passover at the start of the next day, do carefully what is mentioned in the 1st chapter and also do the following things. Take off your shoes when you go to the prayer room in the morning. Shut the door after you enter. Walking with bare feet, open the eastern and western windows. Place the burning coals into the incense burner and light the lamp. Then take both robes, the headband, and the little stick. Place all of these onto the altar. Take the holy oil in your left hand and throw incense on the coals. Fall to your knees and pray ardently to Adonai. And then here's the prayer that he recommends. Let's give me a second here to warm myself up to it. Adonai, Adonai, my God, merciful and gracious, patient, faithful, and benevolent, you have proved your grace for 1,000 generations, and forgive misdeeds, violations, and sins, and in front of you no one is guilty. You retaliate the misdeeds of forefathers to the 3rd and 4th generations. There's that generational sinning situation again, right? Which that gets into every time I look close enough into what the Bible is leading into, it's more and more about the personification of karma in our lives, because it shows you the gift and punishment system of God every step of the way, right? This is why people have all the resent that they do, right? It's because there's so many things about it, right? And human nature can get out of control, and every society has ways in which it governs its affairs to keep its society under control. Half the time, the only reason why they're acting like animals is because they're acting like animals towards their enemy, which is what happens in a fight, right? You see plenty of Christians with plenty of bloodlust issues, plenty of Jews with bloodlust issues, and Muslims with bloodlust issues. They're fighting for that higher sense of God's love and peace and harmony and the good values that make life a fucking fulfilling and rich world. But when it comes to anything that is doing the bad stuff, right? There's still a lot of the if X then Y, therefore we must Z, right? So X, they're performing these sexual sins, which means the consequence of that sexual sin will be this kind of evil run amok as consequence, right? And there's a merit to that. We've been looking at our blind ideas about the extremes of mainstreamized grooming, and it's become so vomitously distasteful that we had to break that space down. It's just like we just had to make a fucking social fucking decision about it, right? And that was a period of time that conditioned a lot of people to be okay with the names they were being called, that they were comfortable kind of enveloping the character and becoming the enemy for them, just because they were getting off on the original principle that they got into this for, right? And if you take that to too much commitment, you make too much of that in the world. Anyway. Okay, you retaliate the misdeeds of forefathers to the third and fourth generations. I recognize my worthlessness. So I'm never going to pray like that. That's right the fuck out. That's right the fuck out. I only talk to gods that acknowledge that I am doing what I gotta do as an incarnate being here, right? Worthlessness. And I doubt that's even a bad translation, considering, right? So, there's a better word to humble yourself, which the reason why you're humbling yourself is because you're asking for, you're doing a spell to appeal to Yahweh or Adonai or whatever for a divine intervention that you have reasoned to yourself is a good thing to put some work in to ask God to do for you, right? Because all of this is like, because this is magic that comes from begging God like a kid. Like, the problem is that, with this original synth, it's like imagine living your entire life feeling guilty for, like, the guy Cain killed, right? It's just like, that murder makes me terrified of you, right? That's the way that this is. And so yeah, we're flawed people and all that stuff, right? But none of this is what gets you right in your heart with God, and none of this is necessary to run through a ritual, right? You just have to know that it's not about whether you are worthy of doing the deed. Is the deed that you want to do worthy of God's approval? That's the question. Which is why you don't have to pray like this. You shouldn't pray like this. This is why I don't, it's fine that I will say, yeah, like this particular thing said in the Bible. It's just like, I have to be careful. I'm a line item human being. Like, me arguing about shit in the Bible made me a line item human being, right? Me arguing about politics has made me a line item human being. It's irritating to fucking sit there and say I adopt all these things, right? You end up weighing and balancing choices, and it's just like you can't make all those individual choices. You're choosing a person that you want to trust with those choices from the value set that they asked you to put them in there for, and whether you trust them more than the other guy, like them more than the other guy, and all this shit. And you have to check off all these boxes before you get to guy that'll definitely get the job done right in your fucking favor. Right? And so there's all sorts of forces in the world, right? And so you're asking God to make something happen, and you want to make sure you're not violating someone else's will. You want to be within God's law, right? And somebody got their idea in the head that there's a secret path to magic that God is good with. Anyway. Alright, so let's get through all the I suck, God, do me a favor. I am not worthy to stand before your holy face, and even less to ask your grace and blessing for the smallest gift. The God you pray to on that level doesn't have a face because it doesn't have a form, right? To say God has a face is to give him a personage. To give him a personage is to make him like the pagan gods, right? And I wouldn't choose Yahweh under those circumstances. The higher force, the Jinn region, the Brahmin, it's a conscious force in which all things happen within its essence. That's the substrate of all that is. Forms come forth from it. So it itself is what forms come from. Therefore, it can't have a form. And that's one way of understanding the God that you took this particular individual god of a pantheon, made him the chief of, and then the sole proprietor of deity. And that's the Sumerian backdrop, right? But they don't want other Jews to compare notes, right? How many Jews want to have a conversation about Sumerian mythology and, hey, wait a second here, you with your Noah shit, what's this Gilgamesh nonsense, right? That's the first one people understand, right? Anyway, let's ask of your grace and blessing for the smallest gift. But Adonai, my Adonai, our alliance is great, and the springs of your goodness so overflowing that you give to people who are ashamed of their sins and cannot drink from the spring of your goodness. The impossible standard, right? You loudly invite them to take what you can offer. So Adonai, my God, give me mercy and take Like, if you're doing something because it serves God, there's no reason to go through this. God knows your intentions. You can speak your intentions in the prayer, right? There's no reason to go through. In fact, this should be covered by who you are on the daily, right? You know, yesterday you should have had some prayers just because of your devotion to God, explaining this. God doesn't need you to repeat yourself, right? Like, maybe this is fine for the very fucking first time you've ever prayed for God and asked for something in such a capacity. And the fact that you're putting ritual effort into it is another reason why it doesn't have to be so grovelly. You're making a spiritual transaction with God. Okay? Just be a businessman. Right? Be like, God, you need me to do stuff here on earth. I got a stuff you'd like that I'm going to do here on earth. He gave you free will. Stop guessing. You know good. You know good because you also know evil because you ate from that fucking fruit. If it makes you guys fucking feel better, okay? You know, you feel guilty because you know good from evil, and now you feel guilty about things that exist. And so you're this monkey with anxiety, which has developed your evolutionary path of thinking since you got out of the garden. Evolutionary path of thinking, I said, not evolution as in atheist evolution, right? I believe in a spiritual kind of evolution that doesn't involve, archetypal species jumping. That's probably not even the best word to describe what the hell I'm trying to say. Anyway. You loudly invite them to take what you can offer, so Adonai, my God, give me mercy and take from me all my excesses. Wash from me all the uncleanliness and sins. Renew my spirit and strengthen it so that it can be strong, so that I can understand the secrets of your grace and treasures of your knowledge. All right. Consecrate me through this oil of consecration with which you healed all the prophets. Clean me and all these accessories with it. Properly cleanse and heal me so that I will be dignified to have the company of the holy angels, the sacred wisdom, and the might that you alone have given your initiated over the good and unredeemed spirits. Amen. All right. We're going to get to the end of this chapter, and then we're going to take a break. I use this prayer in my initiation. You do not have to repeat it like a parrot. Suffice that I have given you the form and the outline. You have to find the inspiration to pray from your heart. Otherwise, the work would be useless. So, my son, exercise diligently upon the word of God and the laws of Adonai, so that his spirit lights your heart and awakens it to fervent prayer. When you have finished this prayer, stand up and spread a little of the oil onto the center of your head. Now dip your finger into the oil, pass your fingers along the four corners of the altar, touch both the robes, the tie, the headband, and the stick on both ends. Go also to both the windows and doors of the prayer room and touch the top sill with the oil on your finger. Return to the altar and write clearly on each of the four sides with the holy oil on your finger the clear words. I guess this oil has to have it has to be a very staining kind of oil. So in lieu of paint, right? I suppose like there's a good reason to do it with oil instead of paint. Granted, you can have paints that are oily. Like what if you got like an organic oil base of an oil paint? You know, I could probably go to, I'd imagine I can get that at whatchamafuckit, Hobby Lobby. Anyway, I go to Hobby Lobby for my candles. Anyway, in those places where the memory of my name is grounded, there shall I come to you and bless you. In the wilderness, use the sacred oil to touch the four corner posts. Whether these hold up the roof of the prayer house or the roof over the altar, the consecration is now complete. Put on the white shirt or robe. Put all the other things in the altar. Place yourself on your knees and organize your prayer as I have described in the first chapter. Do all things as I have suggested in that chapter. Make note not to carry any of the consecrated accessories out of the prayer room. They must stay there until the completion of the work. From now on, you also must enter the prayer room and do God's duty only in bare feet. Okay, I'm good with all that. Chapter 13. We will come into chapter 13 on the other side. I need to pick music. Sorry, like the beginning of the show started real quiet because I forgot that I had collapsed the song that I prepared, and so I had to pull it up. And I'm just kind of winging it. I was going to go in one direction, and then I just abandoned it and went for more really good fucking black metal. So that song was Servant, Tabula Rasa, featuring PG of Groza. And we've heard Groza here before, I think. All right, this looks interesting. This might be doom metal. Hopefully it's...
What if I guaranteed you 1 million views or you did...
I'm going to try something off of Observers, The Emerald. It's a new album that dropped. Let's see. It's got kind of the green vibe going on. What's the first song? First song's like 5 minutes. We're going to have this little screening right here. Hang on. Let me listen to this. Okay. It's gonna force it. This is going to be in the green metal category for sure. Okay, that sounds like a winner. All right, we're going to go with the Observers then. This is the title track. This is The Emerald. man, that is exactly how I like it. Oh yes, Observers, the Emerald. Ooh, that was good. I'm gonna have to check out the rest of this album. I love the. Oh man, the artwork is magical. It's a couple of fucking oak trees, and one of them's got a fucking fairy hole, and there's gold light, and it's going. You know, it's just going down to the Fey world. It's very dark, but it's daytime because you can see the sunlight piercing through, but it's so fucking dark still. Woo! It's a good cover, and their logo looks sick. Yeah. They're these guys. I think they're a little bit on the techie side. Their logo gives me the vibes of more technicality because I can read it. That's all you need to know. I can read it. There's something coherent going on here. But anyway, let's have at it. Chapter 13. How the good spirits should be called. It's going to be funny. I can't wait till we talk about calling the bad ones, because we need bad spirits for some reason, after all. Now it comes to the point. Now you will see if you have sincerely followed my instructions and if you have faithfully completed your duty to Adonai, your God. After the Feast of the Tabernacles, at the end of the last half year, get up early in the morning and do not wash yourself. Do not dress in the usual robes, but wear a sack of mourning clothes. Go barefoot into the prayer room. Go to the incense burner and remove some ashes. Sprinkle them on your head. Then light the lamp, incense burner, open the window, and return to the door. Then fall down onto your knees and bow down and humble yourself before God and his hosts. Cry out with your whole soul that he, Adonai, will hear your pleas and your prayers and grant you the ability to visualize his holy angels, and that the chosen spirits of Adonai will grace you with their companionship. All this you can better accomplish from your own heart than I can describe on these pages. So, you should continue in your prayers until the sun sets. Do not leave the prayer room. Do not let the lamp or incense burner go out. Fast the whole day. Organize things beforehand so that no one needs to talk to you. After sunset and the day of prayers, leave the prayer room. Leave all the windows open and the lamps lit. Break your fast with nothing except bread and water. Then lie down in your sleeping room and face the door. During this time, do not touch your wife. Live away from her. Which for a Jew, that would be something they normally do. I'm kidding. Anyway, during these days, thoroughly and exactly carry out the ceremony. 3 days for calling the good spirits, and then the 3 days for calling the unredeemed spirits. O my son, praise and thank the name of God. Do not be hindered by what you may see or hear. O my son, what do you think I mean when I say see or hear? I want to make this clear, and so will not make fun of the matter. On the first day before noon, as soon as your ardent prayers fly, flaming from your heart, and rise through the clouds towards the face of God, you will perceive a supernatural clarity throughout the prayer room and sense a delightful aroma around you. This should give you, in your soul, such refreshment and comfort that you will always continue to praise Adonai for the experience. Well, I suppose if you haven't been bathing, because I'm not sure he's clarified whether you can bathe yet, then that would be a miracle if I smelled something awesome instead of my own BO. So do not stop praying, but strengthen your prayers with unquestioning optimism. Continue doing this also on the second day. On the second morning, you need to be prepared to follow the advice that the angel gives to you. Go early in the prayer room. Place the burning coals and incense into the burner. Relight the lamp if it has gone out. Wear the same clothes as on the previous day. Pray as on the previous morning. In the morning, at noon, and at night for 1 hour. Eat as I have written before and go to sleep. One thing I'd say do differently is your robe is for modesty with the world. It's not for your relationship with God. You do it naked. You do it naked, right? Why do you do it naked? Because you're trying not to be ashamed in front of God. You know, like, it was a problem. It's implied in the way the whole thing is phrased that your shame in front of God was a problem. So you went and grabbed a thing or whatever, you know, like, God didn't need you to dress up, right? How the fruit of the tree affected your consciousness gave you a certain self-awareness of one's you kicked in on a primordial level the sanctity of your seed. This happened for Adam and Eve, right? Right? You could have covered up anything. We could have told a mythological story that you covered your face. We could have told a mythological story that you didn't like your hands. I could have seen really interesting ways all of consciousness could have played out if, well, let's just say instead of a fig leaf over your nuts, Adam was just like, I need gloves, right? Like, for some reason it was his hands that he was ashamed of and not his genitals. And the whole course of history would change forever. Right? There's a reason. There was a consciousness opening happening in that area. Right? And so, because that's the case, and because with man's troubled state as is, we are afraid of the primal side of our consciousness, the wolf in the man that gets demonized, right? And then that wolf becomes corrupted into a Fenrir, and then you're wrestling with a lot more trauma than is necessary, right? We go through enough trauma just through coming back into this world on a blank slate in reincarnation, right? And the things that we do, the traditions that we accept as an acceptable way to treat you when you enter this world, with genital mutilation for boys, right? And of course, the bazillions of injections of things. You know, people are really pissed off that we've gone from like 100 fucking injections to like 7 or something. People are fucking pissed that all these things were taken out. These people, man. These people, I'm just like, Nuremberg them all. Nuremberg them all. Because I'm like, motherfucker, you cannot be this past tense. Right? But they'd rather listen to pundits that they like instead of looking at informed opinions from dissenting science. But anyway, I'd be more respecting of their position if they at least gave time of day to anybody else's serious position. That's the whole thing with the Wilson-Owens debate. It's just like our public discourse works because you let the person say the absurd thing. You let them, or you let them just say the thing. Just let them say the thing, and then after you've politely let them get through their point fluidly the way they want to say it, then you go back and you can pick it apart. But you give it a chance. Otherwise, you can be asking a question as just a waste of time. Anyway, I'm not going to bring up any more of that today. But anyway, so much to talk about. It's gone out. Before you go to sleep, I think I'm down here. On the third day, after you have carefully washed your whole body... okay, so there is washing going on. That's good. But this is after you got praised. Was there another wash that I missed? I don't care that much. I'm just saying it out loud. Just because there's so much to absorb here, and it's just one small point that I'm just mostly making a joke about. On the third day, after you have carefully washed your whole body, go dressed but barefoot into the prayer room. Supernatural clarity will still fill the room. Interesting. If necessary, relight the incense and lamp, then change into your white robe and bow down before the altar and start to thank Adonai, the highest God, for all his good works, especially for giving you the blessing and honor of so precious a gift. Thank the holy angels and the good spirits for shining their light on you, even though you are an unclean human and unworthy of the honor. Finally, turn your prayer from God to your holy guardian angel. Plead and beg that in future and for the rest of your life, he will not remove his guardianship from you. Ask that he will guide you, control you on all the roads and byways of Adonai. Right? It's just like the gods aren't always going to bestow you with stuff. Things will come to you in bestowment. As you're doing the work, right? Which this can include work for yourself, right? Because if you already have certain compacts about life, and also the gods are here to help us. They are, right? But they have agents. Right? It's just like, you don't get Odin. You get a crow shows up once in a while, or a raven. Ask that he will guide you and control you to the roads and byways. Ask him especially to stand by you in this work of sacred wisdom and magic and advise you so that you can overcome, tame and urge the unredeemed spirits for the praise of Adonai and the benefit of all creation. My son, you will see how well you have done over the 18 months when your guardian angel, the chosen angel of Adonai, a delightful, good angel, appears before you in its radiance and speaks to you in such friendly and sweet words before what any human tongue could express. The guardian angel will remind you what he has done for you and how you have insulted him in the past. He will tell you how you please him in the future. He will also explain to you about what is the true wisdom, where it comes from, if and how you fail in your work, and what you lack, how you should behave to control the unredeemed spirits, and how to achieve all you desire. All right, so I think that there's a different way they can interpret one little thing out of this thus far. And that's and he has done for you, and how you have insulted him in the past, right? That kind of thing is probably along the lines of teaching you a lesson about your buffoonery, right? We've all seen the memes about, all the nonsense that guardians, spirits, ancestral guides, yada, 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 they go through with all these special head cases that are very foolish, or whatever, right? It applies mostly to a lot of women with this joke, right? It's certainly one of their favorite jokes to pass around. So, the context of all of that, I am certain, is nothing even It's just unfortunate there's so much guilt and shame. These guys are probably like, God, man, they really think that the boss wants them to behave like that. He's a good dude, but fuck, man, he's fucking beating himself up, right? It's just like, oh, you know, it's just like, this is it's the terribleness of what's not appealing. Some people, they live in unstructured lives of extreme impulse, immaturity, in the realm of sin, and have a poorly developed identity. If they crash out on that, they may find themselves running towards orthodoxy structure, right? That they need for them. If they don't get cured by their process of any narcissism they have, it turns into projections, and that's where you get the ortho bros, right? A bunch of guys that think they're doing all the things that give them forgiveness in the eyes of God, and that they can be a complete piece of shit because of moral relativity, right? He who is not guilty of sin, throw the first stone, right? This is only about a fucking disposition. This was not a generality, right? This was about calling them out on being hypocrites. That's all that this was. It's just like, excuse me? You want to stone her for being a whore? All you guys are people that buy her fucking services. You just can't believe, I don't know, some aspect of the fucking story that makes her a whatever. And so he takes her in. And then depending on who you believe, that's his secret wife. Anyway. My son, you will see how well you have done over the 8 months when your guardian angel, the chosen angel, and a delightful good... Okay, I'm sorry. That's right. Insulted him, yada, yada, yada. You will overcome with so much friendliness that my guidance will seem like nothing. Okay, gotcha. So, once you have this connection to the angel, right? And, you know, this sounds like a similar kind of relationship to any Thelemite that gets their holy guardian angel. My son, I shall now cease with my description of your guardian angel. I have passed you on to a teacher who will never let you err. Take care that on this, the third day, you remain in the sincere discussion with your guardian angel after sunset. Make the evening prayer with the usual incense. Thank God and your guardian angel for not leaving you. After this prayer, you will notice that the shining light disappears. Like, this is why I would say just call on your avatar, right? Your higher self, right? Because this can be dangerous territory for the narcissist to install their own ideas if they failed in their due diligence with this, but they wanted to go through the motions so that way they could invent it in their head and convince people in what was a seeming running of this personal initiation. So, leave the prayer room, lock the door, but leave the windows open and the lamp lit. Go into your living room and relax. Eat what is needed and sleep until the following morning. Relax and eat. So, at that point, am I permitted to turn on my fucking computer and watch YouTube? Oh my gosh. As a Gen Xer, feels weird not saying, can I just sit on the couch and watch TV then? We don't fucking just watch TV anymore because TV is fucking horrid. Horrid! Alright, we're at 11:50. What time, how long have I been live like this? In a second here. This is, whoops. Why did it go to... No, that's right. All right, yeah, okay, it's been a little over an hour. Let me see how long 14 is. Do I want to take a break? Okay, we're going to read chapter 14, then we're going to take a break. How the unredeemed spirits can be called and overcome. The following lessons are unnecessary because it is what your angel has told you. But there are some points I want to tell you about. After you have rested for the night, stand up before sunlight. Wash your whole body. Light the charcoal in the lamp. Put on your white robe over that. Wear your silk robe. Wear the belt and put on your headband. All right, so this one's like a full ceremonial garb at this point, right? Even though it's not a whole lot, it's not fancy, it's still very particular. It's not about just being in a plain whatever. Kneel down and pray to Adonai and your guardian angel in the usual way. Then take your wand into your right hand and beg God that he give you the same power that he gave Moses, Aaron, and Elijah. Move around the altar so that you face the arbor. If you are in the wilderness under the open sky, face the sunset. Start to call the 4 spirit kings. The way to do this will have been given to you by your guardian angel. It is necessary to speak from the heart, not just to recite from the mouth. Remember that the unredeemed spirits are harder to call than the good. The good appear as soon as they perceive a good person, while the demons flee. So be fearful of God and pious. Well, then what is the point in calling the unredeemed spirits if they're just going to flee? Just call them, what, to test yourself if they will flee from you? No spirit can recognize your thoughts before you act them out. Interesting. Keep that as a note, right? So when you call the spirit, call them with an open mind, with all your wisdom and insight. To call spirits by reading out an unfamiliar script will make the spirits regard you as unwise, and so they will be even more stubborn and headstrong. This is why we prepare for debates. Do the unredeemed spirits come to every call? Even without calling, there are often many around you, but they only show themselves when you are skilled, pious, and courageous. If they see you as a charlatan, they depart quietly or capture you. Words from an unskilled person have no power because no spirit needs to obey the unskilled. The only power the unskilled have is to harm themselves. The call on the first day. Before I go on, have the laws of Adonai and the teachings of your angel before your eyes. Do not do anything against them, even in the smallest way. The call should be in the common language of mother tongue. Do not use the high names of God against unredeemed spirits. Do not use his name. It would be the wrong use and a cruelty in the eyes of God. Okay, so the unredeemed spirits, there's got to be something I'm missing about why we're bothering with unredeemed spirits. There's something I'm missing in what is implied with this necessity, unless we're just appealing to something understood from Solomon, which is what my assumption is. Even though we're talking about not Solomon's power, but the kind of power that was given to Moses, Aaron, and Elijah? Yeah, Moses, Aaron, and Elijah. Your angel will only let you use these 3 holy names. Jehovah, which is Latinized Yahweh, by the way. Adonai and Zabaoth. You call the spirits through the respect and obedience that is due to the Holy Fathers. You describe to them their situation, their fall before God, and their judgment. You tell them their responsibilities and their duty. From time to time, the unredeemed spirits have been controlled and overcome by the angels, the holy and the wise. This you can study from the holy books during the 18 months. Threaten them that you will call down upon them the force of the holy angels and archangels if they are disobedient. Right, okay, all right, yeah. So, I guess just like you got the angels there because the angels are good, and then unredeemed spirits you get the power to redeem them? Is that because you're doing redemption? You're kind of like acting as the, like the probation officer? And the angels are like your angel cops coming with you? Or something like that. I bet the Japanese have an anime about this. But anyway, from their point of view. Your guardian angel reminds you that your calls should be done courageously, not fearfully, not defiantly or arrogantly, but gently. If the spirit do not respond quickly, do not get angry, you will only hurt yourself. Never look for them except when you feel confident and strong. Remind them to follow. Tell them who has your confidence and trust, the everlasting and living God. Always order them to appear in the form your guardian angel suggests. Ask your guardian angel this in the evening because he knows your nature and knows which configuration you can withstand, whether or not this can be frightening, dangerous, or seductive. Seals, superstitious, conjurations, signs, pentacles, and other godless atrocities are quite unnecessary, for with these the devil's magicians can overcome you. These are the coins with which bothersome Satan can buy you. Your insurance is the arm of the Almighty God himself and the guidance of your angel. So be confident and unworried. If you have followed the suggestions of your angel, then in a short time the spirit will appear in the form suggested on the sand in the arbor. The spirits on the first day are the 4 kings. Their names are listed in the 19th chapter. This very much sounds to me like you are commanding the courts of the Fey Kingdom, which are seasonal courts. The call on the second day. Complete the same prayers and ceremonies as you have done previously, then repeat the preceding call to the 4 kings. Remind the kings that they promised you that they would send you the submissive 8 dukes. 8 dukes now. Interesting. Then repeat the call again for all 12. Soon, the 8 dukes will appear in the shape that was demanded of each, and as in the following chapter, promise obedience. So if we're talking about the 12, this must be some conjuration of the zodiac, with the 4 cardinal directions being spirit kings, right? Which would mean that you're technically dealing with the tetragrammaton, because you're dealing you're dealing with a cherubim, 4-headed angel, right? The call on the third day. Remind the 8 dukes again of what they promised on the previous day. Now ask them to come again with their servants. The dukes will appear in the company of their invisible servants. Call on God for mercy and strength, and call on your angel for advice and support. Remember what your angel has taught you and take the following advice with you. All right, chapter 15. We will come back to chapter 15. On the other side of the break, I need to make a decision. I need to make a musical decision. Let's see. I don't know if this is... This should be metal. Let's find out what this is. Alright, I'm going to try... Oh, this is in... looks like it's German. Called Wilk. Archaica. It's the name of the album. Well, let me find... This song is about 6 minutes. Let's try this one. So we're just, let me move up. Okay. Sounds like a winner to me. Perfect. Perfect timing. Alright, that was cool. That's cool. That's more green metal. I love green metal. It's my favorite subgenre of black metal. That and cosmic metal. Cosmic black metal, cosmic and green metal. Like, that's just the tits of feeling godlike power. Woo. So yeah, when it comes to the cardinal direction points, practicing in my Norse sense, I do what you would naturally conjure to do with the dwarves. So, in that regard, it's Nordri, Sudri, Austri, Vestri, obviously, right? So, these, like, there are spirit folk that have a dwarvish nature or an elvish nature, and there are spirit folks that have a fey-like nature, right? And they're spirit kind from all 8 realms, right? There are passages that talk about Niflheim or Niflhel, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that comes out of there, right? Because it's a place of the imagination. So it plays off of the unconscious. So it plays off of things that are in Helheim. But in actuality, there's way more going on than just the spirits in hell. All right, chapter 15. What one should request from the spirits. With all of these things I want to say here, I want to remind you, because I operate within Temple of the White Dragon. Order of the Temple of the White Dragon. Komendra Horgraf Wotanaz Witaz Ormir. Excuse me. Almost comes off the tongue. I'm getting good at it. Is that you have the psychosomatic northern soul complex, and that is the map out of the 9 realms of your energy body, the rough parts of you in which different energy aspects of your soul emanate. And most of these existential spirits in these practices are replacements for the fractals of you within your mind palace, your council of the gods, if you will. We divide the spirits into 3 parts and call them on 3 days. We want to call them to us in the right order so we can talk to them. The calls we make to them are similarly varied. Now, however, the other thing is, especially with what they're doing up in the prior chapters where we're into this creating the circle and then doing the stuff, right? It kind of made me think during the break of Ghostbusters, like you're setting up a ghost trap, right? And then you bring in the angels, and the angels are doing what the proton packs are supposed to do, right? And you just have to talk and give the structure to the angel and put the orders to the unredeemed spirit, right? If you were to do this around Samhain, you're participating in Odin's hunt. You could do this for Samhain, and you could do this Odinic style and participate in the Great Hunt. Anyway. The call on the first day. On the first day, inform the 4 kings of the might and power with which you call them, from the might of God, who has the kings and all creation under his feet. Then say why they are called, not out of curiosity or because of malice, but to honor God and serve humanity. At this point, you finally add your request that when you call, no matter what the time and place, duty or work, whatever sign or word you use, they shall immediately appear and obey your request. And if they cannot appear, the kings shall name and send others that are mighty and powerful enough to fulfill your request. The king should swear by the strict judgment of God and by the sword, punishment, and chastisement of the holy angels. Finally, the kings will agree to obey and tell you the names of the dukes who are their replacements. Then the king should swear to appear as soon as you call on the following morning. If they cannot come, they must send you their replacement dukes. For your insurance, go to the door or window of the arbor with your right hand, hold out the twig. Instead of speaking out the oath, each of the kings must touch the twig. And one has to ask yourself, like, because I don't do this kind of magic, right? None of my magic is asking for spirits to be conjured in. I've had my moments with gods and other kinds of entities, and don't get me started on my dreams, right? Otherwise, all this stuff is built for calling in aspects of me to fulfill these things, through humbly having my open connection, right? I try not to say too many new agey kind of things, but when I got the right terms for it, I know when to drop it when it's appropriate, right? And it's just like, I know that I have Akashic Record connection. Not everything that comes out of my fucking mouth comes from the Akashic Records. Right? I am in a flow state. And if I'm going to say something that's that Gnostically true, not through Gnosticism, but through the independent, neutral use of the term of the nature of gnosis, thus Gnostic. Like you're seeing this as a manifestation. That's because I'm pretty sure it comes up as some sort of manifestation for you, right? And then it counts like an embodied occurrence, right? I can think of things I've seen in my mind's eye, and I wasn't doing ritual when I saw it. Anyway. Calls for the second day. Repeat to the 8 dukes your request. Remind them of their situation as you did for the kings. Also demand from Oriens, Paimon, Anatan, and Amemon, sounds like Mammon, that each of them give you the name of and is responsible for a servant spirit. You may now ask which spirits you want them to give you. With the guidance of your angel, you can select from the list in Chapter 19 any or all of the spirits. Write their names in unused paper and throw it out of the window to the dukes. Then take the oath from them in the same way you did from the kings. Tell them that they will come next morning with the servant spirits whose names you have written on the paper. All right, so this sounds very similar to approaches I've seen in Thelema and things like this. And remember that this has been worked on, this particular publication by Lon Milo Duquette. All right. After the 8 dukes have appeared on the third day, call on Astaroth and his henchmen, who he has henchmen, to appear in the shape suggested by your angel. You will see a whole division, or as many as you named on the paper, appear in all their shapes. Repeat their request you made to the kings. Let them swear to keep the request you made as often as you call one of them by name, regardless of whether here or there. Also, I don't have the space for the long term, like, because this is like a several days ritual to make things happen. I also don't get magical things that go beyond a day, because I do all my rituals here. I try to keep that as a private thing. It doesn't feel right doing it in my backyard. It only feels right if I'm in an area of privacy, or if I'm in the middle of the woods. Then I actually don't care about absolute privacy. Like, I don't mind if somebody stumbles upon me if I'm in the woods, but as long as I'm off path enough, that I can feel good about it doing it, and say, like, can I accept possible interruption from a person here? It's like, yeah, I feel good doing it here. I doubt that will happen, and if it does, with such effort, it puts me in control. Because it's one thing if I do it in line of sight of the path, and I'm making all this noise, right? It's another thing if I'm way off to where nobody's going to fucking pay attention. Anyway, that's how I handled my eclipse ritual that I did a few years ago now. Anyway. Now, place on the threshold the signs that belong to Astaroth's administration. These are listed in Chapter 20. If you do not want to speak to them, let them swear to you that as soon as you pick up one of the signs or move it to another place, the spirit named within the signs will immediately do what the sign commands and bring you further instructions. Right? Like Astaroth, these are fucking, we're playing around in Sumer, of course. Right? Look what's coming up later over here. We got Asmodeus. There's Beelzebub. It's just like you're calling up the Legion of Doom, right? So if none is specially named, then all the spirits will be responsible to do the duty. If you make more signs in the future, they will need to follow your requests in the same way after they have accepted the oath, which the Duke can take for them. Remove the signs from the door. Call Magoth, Asmodeus, and lastly Beelzebub. Call them and treat them as you did Astaroth. Organize all the signs on which they have sworn so you can see where they belong or what their function is. I don't feel like playing Ghost only because they're a major band, and I don't want to deal with any copyright silliness that may come from playing Ghost at this point. But I was immediately thinking of, was it Year Zero is the one that goes through all the incantations of the these kinds of spirits? Beelzebub, Lucifer, Asmodeus, right? And it just made me think of all that stuff and how funny it is that we're bringing up these names, right? Under these circumstances of what it means to be a Jewish white magus. Continue in the manner with the other dukes. First call all four at the same time with their servants. Then Amemon and Eraton together. Finally call each of them separately as previously stated. When you have picked up all the signs, demand of each of them your servant spirit. Let them tell you which name writes this down together with the time during which he should serve you. Then lay in front of them the signs of the 5th chapter and let them swear on the signs. Then have them swear that during the 6 hours of their duty they will be busy and proper in their work, and that They shall not lie and be deceptive. If you lend or give a spirit server to another person, the spirit should serve that person as he would serve you. God, in his judgment, has ordered and decreed this. Do these ceremonies with all the dukes until all your signs are used. Get all of them, including your 4 server spirits to swear. Chapter 16. This is a very short chapter. How to retire the spirits. To have the spirits retire on the 3rd and following days is easy because they prefer to be away from presence of a pious man. When you have finished with the spirits and have accepted their oath, speak to them. Tell them that for the present they should return to their realm, but they need to remember their oath and, if called, are to appear immediately or be prepared to be punished. It's always with this, right? I do not contract with spirits, man. It's not my place to do all of that, right? Shouldn't be necessary, right? Like, isn't it kind of ridiculous that you would have to reinforce the idea, right? That God will punish them if you don't do the thing for me, kind of thing, right? No, I don't believe that that's how that works. I truly don't. But we've been given enough power where they have to deal with being told this assumption, right? Because I don't think that there's a record of them not doing. It's like you don't have to remind them. Like, it's been done. They should not be capable because they've been compacted, right? Like they're in a compact or a contract, right? Unless it's different under these circumstances, but it's not, though, because you also say this under certain contracts sometimes in some of the other ways that these spells are done. I think. I don't want to talk too ignorantly about that, but it makes sense in my head, and I just had to get that out. Okay, chapter 17. How to answer questions and how to deal with requests. Before I go any further, I just want to double check how long we've been at stream now. Let's see. Hour and 45 minutes. Okay, let's keep going. The devil will not forget to try to lead. Oh my gosh, you know what? I am so sorry. I have been reading, and I forgot to do this. I forgot to throw the page up. And because nobody's interacting in the chat room, and I also wasn't looking at the chat room, you wouldn't even know. Let me scroll back a little bit, just so you can see things. I want you to see the words on the screen. I think we're up here, right? So let me just go through this just really slow so we can pause it in places for you to read it over yourself, that I was faithful to the words. Oops, sorry, let me... We got this page. How to retire the spirits. All right. The devil will not forget to try to lead you from the way by some method. Remain firm and confident. If he should play at being... if he should play at being wild, remain firm and confident. If he plays at being humble, do not be rude. Be moderate in your behavior. If he requests you asks you things, answer in the way your angels inspire you. Realize that the four kings will set upon you and interrogate you, asking who gave you the power to be so cheeky and bold as to call them, because you know how powerful they are and how sinful you are. They will list for you all your sins. They will particularly try to dispute your belief in God. If you are Jewish, they will say that your belief in God has been cast aside and that you don't follow his law, and that you deal with idols, etc. Oh, interesting, Abramelin. Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of Jews that might see this reading and agree with the kings. If you are a pagan, ooh, this applies to me, they will set on you and interrogate you about what you have done, what you have to do with God, and what you have to do with him, as you do not know him. No, that wouldn't happen because I wouldn't be invoking Adonai in mine, right? This would be true if I were calling the same exact things, right? So, which is all interesting, right? I would rather call on Wotan and then Wotan, like, asks me about, like, why I'm calling on, like, I don't know, the Morrigan or something like that, right? Although I might be close enough to the Morrigan where he's not going to complain about that, and Wotan knows the Morrigan too well, but, like, I don't know, fucking, Raiden, god of thunder in Japan. It's just like, what? My son's not good enough for you? He'll be like, right? This is like, you don't need that god of thunder, right? But anyway, if you are a Christian, they will ask what you are doing with Jewish ceremonies. Why do you not obey the orders and laws of your religion? Oh, well, that's really funny considering the Christian diaspora. But anyway, do not let any of this lead you astray. Give brief and clear answers. So you gotta, I appreciate that. Look at this. He gives 3 examples. He gives 4. He gives a universal, a Jewish, a pagan, and a Christian. He gives a pagan answer. Like, I don't know, Abramelin is so kind to even think of me. Oh, you're such a sweetheart. I don't feel excluded from your little club. But anyway. Let me reread that pagan. If you are a pagan, they will set on you and interrogate you about what you have to do with God and what you have to do with him, as you do not know him. Right. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out under other context, right? Because I suppose for me, it would theoretically be a question more along the lines of the question. If you are Jewish, they will say that your belief in God has been cast aside and that you don't follow his law and that you deal with idols, etc. So having belief in paying God means that none of this is of issue, right? Right? So, and that literally also says by some of his presupposed merits that he has to write the book this way by him being a Jew doing this. Right? Other faiths, other nations will have different problems while following these instructions. Right? They will have different trials with these spirits, right? And like I said, I'm keeping it all in home, right? The pagan, I'm certain if the pagan's learning this stuff, the pagan probably didn't tell him. It's just like, yeah, I'm just taking this stuff so I can go, like, talk to Parvati, right? It's like it's this. That's what's going on, right? Anyway, do not any of this lead you astray. Acknowledge only lead you astray, give brief and clear answers. Question them. Ask them why they have not asked if the true God, the creator of heaven and earth, placed them at your feet even if you are a sinner. Because he removed your sins, and you, no matter what your religion, recognized him as the only God on earth, and obey him in might, power, and strength, and you acknowledge only God. Because remember, like, Yahweh, this order of God, is a God that is of a anti-glory nature. Right? All glory to God. Meaning no human being can have any level of self-glorification, right? And like glorification of the self is a bit of a sin, implied as a sin. Extreme fundamentalists, they like to go after people like that, right? It's just like idol worship as far as worshiping celebrities, worshiping the stars, and the consequences therein. And a younger generation that's listening to that more diligently has come and emerged, and it wants to be a big part of the substrate of the new political conversation, bringing back old tropes of misled insecurities about pagan practices in a secular society because they're afraid of the secular society, right? Muslims also don't like the secular society. They're deeply interested in making the public space a substrate of their fucking people and their fucking practices, right? More aggressively than Jews do this, even Orthodox, more aggressively than many Christians do this. Anyway, because he removed your sins, and you, no matter what your religion, recognized him as the only God on earth, and obey him in might, power, and strength, and you acknowledge only God, right? Like when I call upon these four kings, I'm going to appeal to that of the higher force, the transcendent, and only say that I have a connection with it. This isn't about a worth. It's not about a worth thing, right? You don't need to go through this I'm worthless thing to get this across. And I'm just repeating myself in that because he's going to consistently repeat that, right? You should not insert arrogance. But also, your ritual requires an aspect of performance, right? This is all downscaled stuff, but that's because it all is working within his Jewish framework that he is strictly obeying through the process. And no matter what your religion recognizes. Okay, so anyway, with an answer like this, they will change their tune and ask you if they may serve you, and if you could serve them and maybe obey them. Here you have your angel's answer, that Adonai created, condemned, and punished them to be servants. He did not do this to you. They will then ask you for another person's soul, body, or organ. You will then reply to them that none of this is in your control, rather that it is all a matter for God. If there is to be any responsibility for a sacrifice, it is to God and not to them. Further, they will say that you are not allowed to teach other people about this wisdom. So, by the way, this does this mean the implication that, perhaps you're going to have to do you're going to have to slaughter a lamb, maybe? A chicken, maybe? Right? Is that going to happen in here? Is there going to be a pathway to taking a life properly? Further, they will say that you are not allowed to teach other people about this wisdom so that nobody else can make similar demands on them. and that you have the duty to teach and praise the wonder of God, instruct your neighbors in, and spread the wisdom of God. At a minimum, they will ask you not to hinder or damage their slaves and wizards. You will need to pursue the enemies of God and to suppress their evil and to defend and protect your friends who have been insulted or damaged. In the similar ways, they will pressure you to agree to some form of contract. Even the servant spirits will seek your promise not to lend them or to give them to other people. Right? So I like how there's also, you will need to pursue enemies of God and to suppress their evil and to defend and protect your friends who have been insulted or damaged. So I like how it gives you power in those respects, right? You know, there's a lot of the heroic ethic in all of that. In this and similar ways, they will pressure you to agree to some form of contract. Even the servant spirits will seek your promise not to lend them or to give them to other people. Guard against every suggestion of a promise. Answer that every pious man needs to serve other pious people with all his possessions, which includes them. When they see that there is no hope and that their requests are useless, they will surrender and even plead with you that you should not be too severe or difficult in your demands. Answer that if they are obedient, friendly, and willing, then your angel, who will always follow, will perhaps be more gentle and merciful. Whew. Okay, very good. Take a look-see. We're at about a 2-hour mark. Excellent. I think I want to go for a new break. What else we got here? What pops up in my feed? All right, here's an album.
You ever wonder why your car starts smelling weird every
this
summer?
band is called Fallen Spell. This is a 28-minute EP of some sort. Okay, that's a 9-minute song. That's about a 9-minute song, and it's about an 8-minute song. All right. No, I don't want to go 9 minutes. All right, this thing doesn't want to give me anything shorter than 9 minutes, so we're not going to do this one. Let's try... What is this guy? There's another 41-minute album, Tenebroso Eterna Solitude. What we got here? All right. 5, 6. Do I want to do that one then? Or this one rather? Furia Infernal. That's about 9 minutes. All right. Furia Infernal by Tenebroso. All right. I heard somebody talking about like kind of like what they asked themselves a question at some point about things because it was kind of a question along the lines of who dropped like how did it like how did everybody that was kind of like on message in like the new age movement kind of like fall apart, right? And I'm just like, I wonder if he's going to fucking explore the answer to that question because the answer to that question, oh my gosh, the way you have to be capable of reading the Dasein on multiple layers of first identifying what is New Age, what qualified for it in its time, right? And so different angles got consumed with different things. And for the most part, nobody was really in it for true activism. Everybody's just doing business. It's just business. It's just spiritual business. That's all it is. And it wants to ebb and flow with the market. And instead of holding space for an idea that didn't need to get swept away with the turning of the tide, right? It's not just the boomers' world that has gotten wiped out. It's a lot of Gen X's world is being wiped out too because the psychic integrity of those things is gone. I mean, look at CBGBs. Literally, like, by the time millennials came of age, CBGBs was done. No millennial has a real experience with CBGBs. Like the really old ones. Like I'm a zillennial. I've been to like CBGBs I think fucking once in my goddamn life. For various reasons why I was merely at that point, and I never played it. I botched some stuff that ruined a gig at CBGB's. That, so I could have, but I kind of I sabotaged myself, and it was kind of a shameful move I pulled on the band I was with. I was not in a healthy place with myself. I did much better with music since then. But I run around with bits and pieces of guilt for things like that affected other people. And how much those things, how much I feel like I fucked up in a way that affected way too many people around me. Right? And to be the point of failure, not the point of success for what was a collaborative effort I was excited to be a part of. And change my behavior dramatically. Thinking about all that. Changing the kinds of choices I made and what I was doing and working with music. Different, needed to limit myself to certain things. At a certain point I just said, like, I don't think I can stomach a band any fucking further away than just the fucking Bronx. Because at that point I'm going through the stress of crossing over into boroughs that need bridges. But the Bronx is just the lower tip of Westchester County. I can just drive out of the Bronx, fucking 50 roads in and out of that fucking borough. Anyway. Chapter 18. Okay, chapter 18. Other things one should do regarding the spirits. In the last 4 chapters, you heard how to request things from and how to control the unredeemed spirits. Also, how to send them away and answer them. In the 18 months, you have learned enough so that you do not need to be told anymore you are their Lord, not their servant. But as you are their Lord, not their God, always seem confident because you are not dealing with people, but with unredeemed spirits who know more than they can understand. Now, imagine you're using this magic on people and not spirits, and you're using it on a person's soul. This is how you ghoul someone as a vampire, right? If they do not follow your request, consider whether it is their duty and position to help you. Spirits have different abilities. Think about this before you attack them. If the lower spirits, and especially the servant spirits, lie to you or are unwilling, then call their superiors, both lower and higher. This is why it's important to, before you even get involved with anything like this, if you think you have a particular position, unless you think you have a particular position, right? Let me stipulate that, right? Because I talk a great deal from first principles, from baseline definable principles. But some of us are meant to do things and to heed the wisdom behind the principle if you're going to go and be in violation of it, such as wanting to do things with spirits outside of the 9 parts of your soul, right? You have a reason to get involved with them and to make things happen with them. For the most part, like I've said, because this is very similar to any other kind of magic where the only magic that's actually happening is that you learned how to talk to an entity and, use the entity's talents for your benefit. Right? That's it. That's all it is. If they are insolent, appear in dreadful shapes, are unfriendly or wild, pay no attention. Show them the consecrated wand, knock 2 or 3 times on the altar with it. You will quieten and stop all their restlessness. Now, knowing what it is to be a child in a temper tantrum, because I lived as a child in a temper tantrum for many conscious days of my fucking early childhood development as kind of a Fenrir fucking cycle that I lived and experienced by the circumstances of how of my incarnated life. That this is falling under all sorts of things we understand. Like, this kind of stuff can teach you how to deal with people that fall under their yotans, right? When a person falls under their yotan, it is when they've taken a spirit of a kind and surrendered their agency to it, which is not what happens with the gods. But this can happen with all sorts of other things. Remember, even though I am pro-Lucifer in the non-immoral contexts of the spirit of enlightenment, Lucifer is still a titan, a Jotun effectively. And does not have agency. Now, just because it doesn't have agency doesn't mean it doesn't have intent, right? Because you read the intent because it's part of the nature of Lucifer, right? So that's why there is dark Luciferians, because dark spellcrafters are humans. And Lucifer loves to enlighten humans, plain and simple. And he unfortunately cannot be blamed for this. He is also not the cause of it. People initiate him. And they did the right things to entice him, right? Like, this is just the way, it's just his functionality. He's a function in nature and human consciousness, but he does not have agency within human consciousness. That's the distinction. And that's why we need the gods, right? And there is the redemption of Lucifer that comes through, various heroes' duties. The things that happen that get Lucifer out of those circumstances. We forget that part. Let me see. Let's see. Impolite, never be afraid. If they are insolent, right, be careful after the spirits have gone that you carry the incense out of the room into the arbor. Besmoke the area properly, otherwise the spirits can cause bad luck, or they may cause other people damage or unhappiness. Excuse me. If the word squares in Book 4 are sufficient for you, then on the following day clean up the sand and put it into the running water on which there are no boats. If you want to research more and different things, then leave everything as described in previous chapters. Keep the prayer room clean and tidy for your use. You may move the altar away from the middle of the room to a more convenient place. Keep this room free from menstruating women or other impurities so that every Sabbath you can meet your guardian angel. If you ask Adonai, our faithful God, to teach you more, and if in your dealings and your life you follow the advice of your guardian angel, then you will be taught more by your guardian angel. I would say in the pagan context about all that stuff with the women, I think that in general there's an effect. I'm just saying it's an effect, right? Reevaluate what you think all of that means, right? Ask yourself, is that principle good to share across the board to the practices that you are trying to do in reclaiming your ancestors, right? Because this is all still a male's game, right? It's still like this is all effectively not for women. This is males' right-hand path magic. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm good with a woman taking a crack at it. Anyway. Keep the prayer room clean and tidy for your use. For menstruating women, guardian. Okay, chapter 19. The names of spirits you can call and how to call them. Now, my son, I want to give you an exact list of all the spirits that may be asked for on the second day. These are not bad spirits, but fast, distinguished, and clever. These have been mentioned many times by the angels. If you ask your guardian angel, he can affirm you of more. And Lucifer is one of the fucking four kings. Lucifer, Leviathan, Satan, and Belial. Well. The 8 dukes. Okay. Astaroth, Asmodai, Orions, sounds like Orion, Eraton, Magoth, Beelzebub, Paimon, and Amaimon. The servant spirits of Orions, Paimon, Eraton, and Amaimon. More, Peresh, Phrasis, Nudton, Mirmo, Mantes, Pekach, Cohen, Mara, Trapis, Perlit, Helmis, Seraph, Thirama, Chaya, Mebher, Melamed, Obadama. I think I've heard something like Obadama, and we all know Obadiah is a name, right? Hasperin, Kushi, Rashir, Negid, Emphatasan, Azmehel, Proxonos, Alof, Malak, Bruach, Pother, Jashael, Katzin, Phasma, Noga, Ethanim, Parash, Ermenan, Nabhai, Neshama, Malabed, Apollyon. Apollyon's in here, for fuck's sake. Shed, Iwar, Phosphora. Phosphora is Phosphoros, that's Lucifer again. Pocked, Adon, like Adonai, perhaps, isn't that funny? Potted, Gurmil, Asturel, Kosam, Mylon, Yipparkos, Shalua, Ekdulan, Moshel, Badad, Helel, Edomites, Nasi, Nasi, Nazis, NASA, nasal. This nasal is implied there. That's interesting. I'm going to remember that one. Tolet and Flebison. Because when they're calling you a Nazi, are they just invoking this spirit? They've been trained to invoke this spirit. So anyway. Oh, there's all the word. There's Lucifer, Leviathan, Belial. That's Satan. It's Satan, but it looks like it's a TH, so it's like Sathan. He's like saying Sathan. That's interesting. Okay. Oh, and there's more names. Isn't this fun? Nasalon. Oh, man, look at this. This is just a name off. We're just reading names. This is fun. All right. Nasalon, Hagrian, Liraiol, Laziman, Azorega, Igarag, Ekalak, Holap, Hergil, Oroya, Romages, Lamayol, Lomiol, Permeses, Alogil. I'm doing a ritual right after this live stream, so don't worry about me. I'm cleansing myself of all these words. Ragaras, Parasaur. Parasaur is an interesting word. I think parasaur is used in the English language somewhere. Gelo or Geloma. Ilikel, Ariel, Aizozan, Lagasaf, Promeshos, Yizmiriak, Serezum, Ogolagan, Igilon, Sigis, Kilik, Elzegar, Kokolan, Izigas, Alpus, Metopheth, Pleroki, Gorillan, Leralon. This is incredible. These are such interesting names. These are cool. These are just cool to know that these things, like, imagine just somebody's like some shyster is having a conversation. He's trying to bedazzle somebody, and you catch this one of these words in the subtext of what someone's saying. Imagine how you can fucking turn it against them. Right, don't let these people use these fucking spirits against you. Look for the signs, man. Where were we at? Pilakoi, Gorlon, Largo, Gesagas, Aherom. Sounds kind of like ashram. Interesting. Romoran, Ipakol, Osagayan, Belabos, Soterian, like Soterian, Soterian, Parashan, Aflaton, Afolap, Morelon, Ugesor, Remoras, Nigan, Nolam, Ibulan, Negar, Amilis. The servants of Astaroth and Asmodeus. All right, here we go. Kirik is... Some of these guys... Wait, there's Kilik and Kirik. Okay, that's different. Hold on a minute. Let me go back up. Because I could have sworn I've heard some of these on repeat, so I'm wondering if some of them cross over. I don't know. Some of them just sound very akin to each other, so maybe I'm just seeing it wrong. Okay, so let's go on. Amamil, Kirik, Abusis, like the abyss. Tereto, Dimurgos, Dawsum, Lagiros, Udaman, Akanef, Ugalis, Dagoles, Orenel, Bubanabub, like bubonic plague or something. Exenteran, Tabat, Kogael, Derokim, Erix, Bialad, Omegos, Ermihala, Pachake, Tenira, Renar, Labonix, Buriub. What I would recommend doing if this book doesn't get into it is find works that talk about these names, get to what these things are about, what they represent, right? And then try and find that correlation in your world. Okay? So that's the idea, is that there will be a pattern, like, why are these ordered in the way that they are ordered, right? And it's interesting, like, oh my god, Oman is a servant of Astaroth and Asmodeus. That's fucking... And the Ijiji as well are in here as well. Oh, ain't that something? Okay, let's go back. Like, now I'm excited to keep reading here. Where were we? Omego, Similar, Pashanic, Tenira, Renar, Labonix, Buriub, Penfatron, Horimar, Golag, Galagos. Like Gallagher? Like Galapagos? Like Galaxy? Interesting. So, Argax, Hayax, Nimelon, Dremas, Namalan, Concavion. Interesting, it's got concave in the name. Oman, Lirayol, Oheban, Lamal, Begalan, Afray. Afray, like to be afraid, to come affray. Gaganix, kind of sounds like Gygax. Anomalon, Ampholion, Ohotam, Karash, sounds a bit Egyptian, Ijiji, Iragaman, Hejaer, Kainakos, Segerez, Opilon. All right. Now we have Asmodai. Is that different than Asmodeus? Because where was Asmodai up here? There's Asmodai, but where's Asmodeus? There's Astaroth. There is no, like, that's my point. Is it the fucking same? It's confusing. Magog. So Magog like Gog and Magog. So Magog is not just a battlefield, it's a spirit. So it's probably a battlefield spirit. You probably use this spirit to help you in warfare and shit. That's probably what you're calling on for battles and stuff. Or one of them. So anyway. Siphon, which is like siphon. Subhi. Soshen. Kila. Unakos. Diops. Magairos. Lamargos. Mebeshel. Disolel. Sartabekam. Servants of Abiman and Eraton. Herag. Trisasha. Egibol. Gegolkon. Yeah, like that guy I think I heard earlier up there, Gegolkon. He's close to Galagos. There's an interesting pattern to these names, and there's there's also a lot of diversity. It's a fascinating combination of syllables that make up these entities. So anyway, Kela Unakos, Zelifkos, no, okay, we're over here. Herag, Trishasha, Egabol, Gagalolkan, Regolen, Chlorasha, Irasoman, Yeratron, there's a Tron in that one's name, Elephon, like elephant, Paphesla, the servants of Astaroth, Emma, Giriar, Iromenes, Faguni, Epormenos, Argilon, Baphamal, Texai, Asianon, Kigaios, Hippolopos. There's definitely a little bit of Greek in a lot of these, and I'm catching that over here as well. Iroi, Kateran, Bahal, Nimerix, Ilosan, Garsas, Lipesha, Rak, Berak, Hira, Camonix, Ugirpon, Kelots, Shelegan, Golag, Okirgi, Alafai, Gomagin, Ikshigas. Look at all those names in there. Servants of Magath. Nakaran, Faturab, Iskiran, Megela, Matatam, Fortisian, Lotem, Nesin, Camusel, Colon, Negan, Ormanos, Ailarak, Nasoliko, Fernabas, Odak, Anagnostos. All these he wrote down in all capital letters too. Right? That means something important. And that is technically a choice by publishers, because like he hand wrote all this, and I don't think he meant for it to be in. He didn't give direction on type font. I don't think. You know, that came later by entrusteds. Tegra, Scrupulon, Hyris, Lobel, Kefar, Kiligil, Egakir, Hagok, Mokeshef, Misaf Beruel Rotor, Sikastir, Harpinon, like harping on, Petanop, Madail, Erioth, Nirak, Korokan, Parashman, Mimosa, Kohan, Mazadul, Ubarim, Eretor, Mesheber, Erabim, Dulid, Dibem, Pandoli, Masadul, Hippogon, Olaserman, Arakisan, Batirmis, Sapipas, Orgido, Butharuth, Tigrafon, Kor, Somis, Obageran, Lebanatan, Mereg, Egeles, Deglis, Rimag, Lakatil. There we go. Woo! The efforts. The efforts! Many people just... Takes a lot of people a long time to be capable of pronouncing shit like this. Takes quite a bit. Let's get to the end of this chapter. I'm excited. Eumori Magid Galemon Mebhaser Abhadir Yabarian Bakaran press fees. That's funny. That's funny to me. The press. Hyla Ormian Anai Shaluak. It's like these are very interesting sounds to say. Like, you don't hear this kind. Like, there's not too many places in English language that kind of sound like this, right? Like, where are you getting, like, perhaps they come sometimes as in between words, like they're spaced out, right? Which, if you were to squeeze the words together by taking out the spaces, you would find, like, these words in the middle of the sentence. That would be one way in which you've found the context, if you will, right? Anyway. Servants of Beelzebub. Altenor, the alternator. Direlizin. Ergonion, Kamalon, Herioth, Bailik, Lirokai, Olaskai, Ugobog, Pagalust, Armasia, Iralikerison, Iotifar, Yigarim, Tedian, Iromas, Namamon, Mayamen, Haskub, Zerbis, Belefres, Elpenan, Minimarap, Akahim, Icon, Balsori, I am AI, I am I. I am a, oh, wow, there you go, there's some shit right there. Alosan, Amolam, Lemelon, Camerion, Gerinarag, Kelesi, that kind of sounds like the Carlisi, you know, now we're getting Game of Thronesy. Gulag, ooh, like the Gulag. Kemal, Erolin, Aragorn, servant of Beelzebub. Hey, what are the odds? What would like to roll the dice that Tolkien read this book? Did he know this? Irgosil, Bilifat, Radarap, Coralan, Sipilipis, Natales, Namaros, Adisak, Kobada, Ipokis, Borab, and Grenan. Servants of Orions, Gezeran, Gagason, Sericel, Mafalak, Sorosma, Zagal, Turatil, Balakem. The servants of Paimon, Ikadaisen, Kelgosa, Kefels, Sumaron, Ebaron, Menmulik, Aglaphes, Zelomus, Takaros, Hakemel, Zugola, Astulit, Agaheli, Lerak, and Maku. Servants of Eraton, Anadir, Sekabim, Notasan, Nilian, Merentan, Elamir, Ikorok, Kalamosi, Philasan, Yelemlis, Keran, Rosaran, Sibilas, Herosul, Kalak, Reger, Rigerion, Nagani, Forfaron, Ceres, Cerason, Megalogim, Ligelos, Andrakos. You have Androgyny and Dracos. Elonim, Semiat, and Irmenos. That's interesting. Servants of Amemon. Remuason. Oh, like Rasmussen almost. Ekeseli, Ekorak, Apilki, Sirgilis, Arkea, Merios, Delap, Bariel, Bemerat, Glyci, Drisof, Terahim, Kilikim, Quaisian, Kargosik, Bernahas, Labisi, Ifrigis, Nilima. All right. By the end of this book, I feel like I'm going to have summoned the evil dead. But let's keep going. All right. We're here's chapter 20. We'll take one more break, and we're going to clock this thing a little over 3 hours because I want to get through a little bit more. And then after that, we'll call it a night, and I'll figure out the next time I want to do this thing. I'm so glad I fucking got my Streamlabs software working. What we got here? I don't know if that's going to be heavy. All right, we're going to try this. It's probably going to sound a bit different. Yeah, this is going to be more like death metal. This is Murder of Life. Visions of Justice. Let me see what I want to do here. There's 4 songs. I don't know how long they are. It's a 22-minute thing. And they didn't break it into tracks. Did somebody put down the track listings? No, they didn't. Ugh. All right. Afterlife, Vision of Justice, Non-Existence, Pale Shadow of the Empire. Let's see. Let's do Pale Shadow of the Empire and see how it goes. Hang on a second. We got an ad. There we go. All right, cool. This is 5 minutes. We're gonna roll with it and see what happens. All right, that was some nasty, sexy death metal. I love it. All right, good stuff. Here we go. Chapter 20, How to Carry Out the Work. It's quiet in the chat room this night. That's okay. It is not enough to praise and thank Adonai in 1,000 tongues, or just to thank your guardian angel with much honor. You must make good use of the great treasure that you have found. You have to know how to use an immense treasure. Otherwise, it will lead you to harm and damage. It is like a sword in your hand. It can be used for good or evil. You can cut off Adonai and his angels, and you can destroy yourself and lose your life. The manifestations can be used to overcome your enemy, the devil, and to bring him under your control. This is the purpose of the work. I want to give you the necessary teachings one more time. After calling and taking the oaths from the spirits, consider that Sabbath and the following days until the next Sabbath as special days during which you give praise and thanks to Adonai. Do no servant's work. Consider the 8 days with joy, like the Feast of the Tabernacles. Do not call any spirits during this time. After the 8 days, you may start with humbleness and forethought. The advice which follows will in part show this. Previously, we spoke about tabernacles, Passover, and other festivals. Now, since your initiation, all days are possible. Now, by the way, I don't think I'm going to read too much further because I don't know how much I can really cover. This happens to be a long chapter. I took a look. This is going over a whole bunch of stuff because this is the end of the book. Until we go to the next book, obviously, right? We're on 161 of 307 digital pages, right? So by that merit, we're definitely over halfway through the book. Okay. Previously spoke about tabernacle, Passover, and other festivals. So, do not call and oblige the spirits on the Sabbath for the rest of your life. This is the day of rest and sacrifice for Adonai. Be as fearful as of the eternal fire to tell any living being what your guardian angel has told you, except the person who gave you the knowledge of the art, and to whom you are more deeply obliged than to your own father. Interesting. The person who gave you... So, you in this system, you are being held accountable to your teacher, right? Which is also implying that you must have some probably loyalty oath to that teacher, right? In Komendrahor Gavritaz Ormir, we have, I think, at level 3 or 4, there is a call for oaths, right? Depending on who becomes that, who goes to that. Do not use the wisdom against or to harm your neighbor. The wisdom is to praise Adonai, to benefit and for the use for his creations. Also, I advise you to copy God here. God forgives you. There is no more commendable action on earth than to forgive. Now, of course, I got a big problem with the way everything revolves dogmatically around forgiveness. There's plenty of reasonable room for all manner of fucking forgiveness, and who the hell wants to fucking hold a serious grudge over nothing all the fucking time, right? But certain unresolved issues are worth fighting for. It doesn't mean you have to escalate to violence, but you do have to be confrontational. You do have to, you do have to state the transgression. You have to clarify the transgression. to prove that you are in violation of our agreement under God in how we treat each other in our daily lives, so on and so forth, as a nation, as a whatever. So anyway, never start anything without asking. Guard against putting into use anything against the advice of your guardian angel. Never use a word that you imperfectly understand, neither for the good angels or against unredeemed spirits. If you do this, angels would regard you as proud and high-handed, and the unredeemed spirits would regard you as a stupid ass, and none would honor you with their appearance. Never use a word that you imperfectly understand. You know, like, do you have any positive evidence for that? You see what's happening to the man, right? You know? He just fucking uses words like he thinks they mean something, right? He wants to have her affirm that you can interpret her words as deterministically of positive evidence, thus entrapping her in a claim. Guard against all the arts of sorcery, books, and devil enchantments, no matter what their attraction. These are all inventions of the devil. Without the advice and permission of your guardian angel, don't even think about trying any of the arts of sorcery. Without the advice and permission of your angel, meaning that's not a no. It means you have to check in with your Jiminy Cricket. You need to check in with your conscience. You need to check in with your avatar that works hard to be transcendently the better example of you as you remind yourself about your commitment to alignment with the Jinn region. You'll insult your guardian angel if you use word squares for accidents or bad luck. Okay, so don't use protective magic or some of this kind of magical works for accidents and bad luck, because that's what your guardian angel's there for. It's an insult, but I mean it's also a redundancy. It's a waste of time. It's just like you got your guardian angel. You've got a tactical security guard. This is like you're good, bro. All right. Be always clean in body and clothing, particularly in the heart. This is important for the spirit. If you're a pagan, you follow Anubis, and that immediately is understood. Think carefully before you use your wisdom to help others with bad and improper things, because in many things, a service for another can be a service against oneself. Call your guardian angel only in times of desperate need. Understand that the angels are so far above you that it is senseless to compare ourselves with them. These entities are what is meant outside of their system when it comes to these kinds of things, because an angel is gonna be like one of these spirit types in your mysticism, right? And it's a servant. It's a servant of the deity of your devotion. Okay. They aren't more powerful than you. It's just that because they exist in that realm, they have what they do seems like a feat beyond feat to you because they don't exist in our dimension. And how they move and how time passes is different on the other side. They're slipping in from whichever, dimension into our fourth dimension. That's our veiled world by which we interface through the conscious plasma in our ether substrate. And so that's how this guardian angel is having a relationship with you at all. So, so you can't compare yourself to the angel. Yes, that's true. But that is only because you are built to be manifest here through the magic of the flesh and bone mech suit that we have conjured in the likeness of the creator, right? The five-fingered bipedal hominid has the faces of the gods, right? The ones that are in the best health, the most healthily reinforced genetic stock, there's a natural seeing of the archetype. This is why everybody fucking fell in love with Erling Haaland, right? You know, he's fucking balder ass fucking energy. Call your guardian angel only in times of desperate need. Understand that the angels are so far above you that it is senseless to compare ourselves with them. Use the servant spirits only for your neighbor's needs. Remember that if you give a servant spirit to another person, the servant can be used against you. Do not involve other spirits in the tasks of the servant spirits, except when they are busy or have been lent to others. All right, so there's a lot of time and space kind of stuff here, right? So even though time and space works differently for these spirits, they can happen to be busy at that time, right? So I think that there's probably a limited number of many of them, right? Because imagine if there isn't really a number, like there isn't anything. I don't think we're ever going to see anything pop up in this book that says, and by divine law, keep these a secret because there must never be any more than 100 fucking people that know how to fucking call these guys at any given time. Otherwise, they're just overloaded and they'll never show up. They'll be like, I can book your exorcism in February. Right, like, no booking the exorcism in February. I need you next Sabbath. Right? So, my assumption is that each of these spirits is kind of a patron figure of an order of its kind, right? So if we go back up here and just one of these little guys, Rosaron, right? So Rosaron covers an attribute of Eraton. And then Rosaron has many little spirits that are like it. But once you establish a relationship, you have a chronological obligation to your ritual structure that then charges the energy that Rosaron needs to have spirits of Rosaron come and work for you. So Rosaron, the servant, makes servants of its kind for you. That's what I think is happening, right? And so it's like any renewable resource, you have to pace your tapping of the well. Okay. Okay, never start, never use that. Guard against all the arts of sorcery, right? Think carefully before you use your wisdom to help others. And against yourself, call your guardian only in times of desperate need. Are so far above you that senses yes. Use the servant spirits only for your neighbor's needs. Yes, okay. Do not involve other spirits in tasks. Yes, be careful of the servant spirits with many and big words. Okay, be careful of the servant spirits with many and big words. They can convince you of anything. Keep your relationship with them at a formal level. Yeah, meaning you'll be consistently playing a game of wits with some of these spirits because of their anything that is inherently trickster about them, especially if they're a more dwarvish nature. With the servant spirits, use only verbal commands. The only exception to this are the word squares written down in Book 4, Chapter 5. Do not attempt too many things on any one day. Do one thing after the other until you are experienced at the beginning. It is too difficult to do otherwise. Yeah, that all makes sense. You know, my magic circle gets more complicated. The sophistication of my orations. You know, I do a lot of parcel tongue, if you will. You know, a lot of dragon speak. It's a lot of syllable salad. Not even word salad. It's syllable salad to bring the terminology through. And let me tell you something, man. I think I'm hard pressed to have ever, in any of my memory of the years that I have been doing this every single night with Dragon Speak, aka Light Language to you New Agers. I don't think I've ever uttered any of those fucking names. I don't think any of those have ever just come out as some sort of high consciousness gibberish. Maybe one or two, sort of. They sound like babble in and of themselves to the tongue as I understand it. Some of it comes across a little bit Greek. Some of it, it's an interesting mishmash. Anyway. Only call the kings or dukes with sufficient reason. It is better to distance yourself from them. Yeah, the President of the United States doesn't have time for you. Here, speak to the secretaries. Everything that was spoken on the third day should not be softly, darkly, or indistinctly mumbled, nor should it be yelled. It should all be said in a natural conversational form. Every Sabbath, the prayer room should be cleaned and swept out. Do this during and after the 18 months. In the first 2.5 years, do this also after morning prayer in the third half year. Do this directly after noon in the night and in the next morning. Do not consider any important magical work in the night. After the initiation, you should fast on bread and water every year after Passover and Tabernacle on the day before the Sabbath. For the whole of your life, live and eat in an orderly way. Above all, avoid drunkenness. Every year, remember and celebrate the day of your initiation as if it were the Feast of the Tabernacle. During the 3 days when you are receiving the oaths from the unredeemed spirits, eat only vegetables and water. After that, eat properly. During the 18 months and for the following 3 years, avoid losing blood or bleeding except what nature may cause you to lose from the hand or head. Right, sure. Let me, give me 1 second here, if I can remember where I am. Okay. We're going to get to right here, and then we're going to call it a night, I think. During the 18 months and for the following year, do not touch any dead person or animal. Do not kill anything yourself. During the same time, do not eat any blood or meat, whether raw or cooked. To do so is a cruelty to Adonai and your angel. That's more in line with the whole anti-cosmic thing and resenting every little fucking sacrifice that must be made for your life, which is what leads to so much veganism. As you can tell, there's an adherence to vegan diet for preparation. You don't have to live veganly, but can you consider how much time you have to give yourself in the midst of doing all this and how long you're foreseeing yourself doing it? You're going to be eating vegan a tremendous amount more, which as long as you're not, I think, in an overdrive mode as a person who may, need the protein, like me doing my workout thing, that may not be a bad thing as a great way of getting consciously more vegetarian diets. I wouldn't go vegan, I'd go vegetarian. I think that's fine under pagan standard. Because if the issue is suffering, I'm pretty sure Jews and vegans would be different, because I think under normal circumstances, especially because you could kill the cow, that it's not a problem to milk it and have milk, and there's animal fat protein in that. I mean, I just wish I could say, vegans, under your philosophy, milk and eggs should be fucking fine. But anyway, eat no animal that has died in its own blood or has been choked, no matter whether feathered or four-footed. Follow all the warnings in the chapter in the whole book and given later. Follow carefully, especially in the first years and after initiation. All right. And so then there's a lot of great stuff coming up for next time. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Let's read this, because then progress towards book 4 is kind of like, honestly, this is kind of like a chapter in and of itself anyway. It's kind of like a epilogue. Consider the point below without exception. Never give a monarch the craft. Here we go. He's going to talk about Solomon. Solomon was the first to misuse it. If you were to do this, you would you and the monarch lose the mercy. I even gave Kaiser Sigismund the best of my spirits, but never the work. It should never be given to kaisers, kings, or other potentates. Never sell the craft. Give it away. If you do the work in a town, take a house that is out of view. Avoid all curiosity. Bind with an oath the person to whom you are giving the work. It cannot be given to a known atheist or blasphemer. And I think probably the reason why they don't give it to the atheist or blasphemer is because then they get into philosophical Satanism, and then they use that as a cover for black magic because of crimes they want to commit, and fornications they want to perform. Fast for 3 days before you pass on the work. The person who receives the work should similarly fast for 3 days. During this time, he should also give you 10 gold guilders that you will need to distribute among poor people. The poor people should recite the Psalms Miserere, Me Deus, and De Profundis. That's interesting. Why should they do that? Though in Latin. Why should they be doing Latin? Shouldn't they be doing that in Hebrew? And doing prayers to Adonai as such. I think there's a tell here. There's a little bit of tell involved with certain controversial claims that there's a lot of people that are less controversial than others talking about sources for the Jewish scripture and the joke of it all with good old pagan Greek. It's a good thing and makes the operation easier if you repeat all the Psalms of David. They contain great power and virtue. Recite them at least twice a week. The same time, you should avoid gambling as you would the plague. It is always an opportunity for blasphemy. All right, progress towards Book 4. So then we go through, because this is quite long in and of itself. There's some... there's all sorts of chapter notes. In fact, we'll take a look at this more closely. Forgot forgetting his holy law, the big penalties. Yeah. You see all this stuff we're going to have to read? Then there's this and the close. So he goes through all that stuff for looking forward, and then he has actual closings for the book itself, right? There's quite a bit to read. Maybe or maybe not, I'll skip a little bit of that. I will proofread this next show. All right, so that's it for me. Thank you kindly. I'll catch you later.